Stop chasing. Look, it's Marcel, aka Honey Bunny Sunny, and I'm on a mission to make you some money. Listen, today we have a really good video, and if you watch this video to the end, you will now understand exactly how to determine a high probability setup. Okay, I know we hear about this term all the time, high probability setups. Take a high probability setup, but what exactly is a high probability setup, and who came up with the numbers? Who said that such and such was a high probability setup? What constitutes a high probability setup? Right? Now, personally, I think that 70% or higher is considered high probability. Anything below that is, it's pretty fair. I'm not going to say super risky, but pretty fair. But high probability, 70% and up. So if you can find something that works 70% or more each time, so if you can find something that works 70% of the time or more, you found something that is pretty solid to hang your hat on. Okay, now, before we jump into the video, we got to get this out the way, okay? Let's like this, comment to get it into the algorithm. You know how we do. Let's get this to at least 100 likes on the video, okay? If it's your first time seeing my face, welcome. If this video is valuable by the end, it'd be amazing if you hit that subscribe button, not only for me, but so that you don't miss another valuable video in the future. Okay, let's get right into it. I'm not going to waste any time. Now, I've created what's called an analysis, a probability analysis table, right? And this probability analysis table shows you exactly how to determine what you're looking for a high probability setup. Okay, so if you have a specific strategy that you're using, this is going to show you how to determine if it works or not. You can go and implement this with any sort of setup or strategy that you use. For today's example, we are using a fail 2D using the strat method. Okay, so we all know that a fail 2D with the strat method, or I'm gonna say we all know because some may be new to this, to the station, right? But with the strat method, a failed 2D is typically a strong reversal to the upside, right? So it's made its move down. It came and formed essentially a bottom, bounced off of it, and then pushed up. So that's typically a failed 2D. It was originally a bearish candle, but it failed that, and then it pushed up and formed a failed 2D, which is a reversal pattern. Okay, so in this example, you're going to see the probability. You're going to see how it performed the next day. You're going to see how it performed over the course of the week. All right, now when we get into the table, I'll go into some more details about exactly how I determined each of these things. So I'm going to pull this up, and we're just going to go right through it, right? And again, you can set this up on your own, right? Make sure you're paying attention to the details. It's only about 5 columns, so it's not super complicated, but these things are very important and are going to help you determine the probability of whatever strategy you're using. Okay, so I have the failed 2D strategy, and this is for like a year analysis, right? I went back to November of 2024. Now, as you can see, I have a date, I have the next day percentage, so this is the percentage move, and then the week percentage, the next week's percentage move. So we're talking about on the security itself, right? So how much did that stock move, like the actual stock itself, not options, move the next day, okay? Because we all know that if there's a significant move on the security itself, then the options are going to typically be 2-3 times that, depending on which expiration dates we get, but it's always going to be more than than the equity move. Okay, so right here is an example of the failed 2D. So I looked at just the data from a year back. I told you guys this in a previous video. You just simply pull out your chart and you just go back a year. It's very tedious, I'm not gonna lie. Like, this took me about to do the actual search, it took me about 40 minutes. To complete the chart and do the search took me a total of about an hour and 10 minutes. So it's not a ton of your time, but it will take a little bit of time. It's not something that you can just sit down and just knock out, right? So it will require a little bit of your effort, but I'm telling you, when you do this and then you start doing this with other stocks, you're going to be extremely confident in how your strategies work. Right now, you're going off of somebody's word and don't really know exactly how it works. So, all right, I'm going to stop talking and get into it. All right. So right here we have Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. Right. So this is right before Thanksgiving last year. And this is also for Sound, right? This particular stock that I'm looking at this table is for Sound. So Sound on November 27th moved 27% the very next day after a failed 2 down. Within that week, and what constitutes a week for me is 5 days. So 5 days of trading is typically a week. That's usually how long the expiration dates are. So 5 days. The only time that I didn't count something as 5 days is if it ran into another failed 2D prior to that 5 days, or if it made a significant reversal beforehand. Because if it takes 3 days and it goes up and then it goes up 20%, we're not waiting for the additional 2 days. We're going to take it right there. So it's essentially the peak within that 5 days of that particular security. Okay. So the next one we had was Friday, December 20th, 25% movement the very next day after a failed 2D. On the weekly, a 33% movement, right? So if you would have gotten into any of these 2 days on a failed 2D, you would have quadrupled your account for sure, right? Or not your account, but what you risked, right? Sunday, January 28th, 265%, right? And then on the week, it went up 15%. Now, these numbers are incredible. We're not talking about on the options. We're talking about the equity, right? So much more significant on the options. So over here in this column is a win, yes or no, for next day, and a win, yes or no, for weekly. So as you can see, there are way more yeses, right? Way more wins than there are losses. We took 3 losses on Sound on failed 2Ds, right? The Sound stock had 3 losses out of 20, right? 3 losses out of 20. And on the week, there were 4 losses out of 20. So let's come down here. I'm not going to go through all of these, but as you guys can see the huge numbers that are taking place after a failed 2D. A failed 2D has the probability next day. This is on Sound specifically, right? Not every single stock. You got to go and look at the stocks because they each are going to have different probabilities and different personalities. So on Sound, a failed 2D the next day worked out 85% of the time. That is extremely high probability, y'all. 85% of the time this worked out. The next day, I want y'all to understand how easy this is, right? And I know we're not supposed to use the word easy when it comes to trading stocks. There's a lot of risk involved, yes. But I'm looking at real data, real statistics that I went and did manually and saw that 85% of the time that a failed 2D appears, the next day it works out. That is a huge discovery, right? A lot of us are trading blindly and don't know the true percentage. So I can rest assured on a year of data, I can hang my hat on the fact that this is 85%. And yes, you got to continue to do this as years go on because stocks do change personalities with market sentiments and things like that. But as it stands, this is an 85% probability setup, okay? On the weekly, it's an 80% setup, right? 80% probability setup that it's going to work out. Now, in this last row right here, this is average. I actually should type that right in, right? Average. This is the average percentage. So not only does the next day have an 85% chance of working, but the average move to the upside after a failed 2D is 6% on equities, y'all. On equities. The average movement within the week after a failed 2D is 13.49%. This is on Sound. Again, this is one particular stock. I do this on all the different stocks to determine the probability. I want you guys to get familiar with this exercise because once you start doing this, you start seeing like, oh, If it don't work, it's not because I'm trading bad. It's just because this is just the 15% of the time that it doesn't work. But if I see it again, I'm gonna take it again. I see it again, I'm gonna take it again. If you win 85% of the time with the same risk, you are up. That's simple math, right? And we didn't even get into the deep. This is, like I said, this is a simple strategy show on the table. We didn't even go even more granular. You can get even more granular with this, even more detailed with this, and you can even identify the type of failed 2D it is. Was it a thin hammer failed 2D, right? Was it a fuller body failed 2D? Was it a piercing pattern failed 2D, right? You can start to ask yourself these questions and get more granular and come up with probabilities for those specific types, those specific shapes of a failed 2D. Yo, if this is not changing your life right now, if this is not like blowing your mind right now, like you might want to check your pulse, because understanding this is going to make your trading so simple. Okay? Like, if I can find as many 85% setups as I can, I'm only going with those. I'm only rocking with those. And again, it feels much better when you can identify it for yourself. All right, so back to it. When you're setting up your chart, no matter what it is, what you're doing is you're identifying the date. And the reason that you want to identify the day and the date is because if you want to do, like I said, you can do deeper research. You can get more granular with this and get specific about things and go and see what was happening on that specific day. What was there any Fed data that came out? Was there jobless data? That can also inform any sort of skewed data. Like up here, we have 27% movement and 88% movement. My assumption is this was around the momentum of the election, right? So there was a lot of momentum and a lot of talk about AI. So of course, sound caught that. That's the reason you're seeing an 88% movement. Now the average is 13%. So you know that this is definitely an outlier. 88. Don't expect 88% on a weak move on any stock, really. You know what I mean? So, but it did happen. So, but since I got the date, I was able to see, okay, yeah, that's around that time, right? And you can use it the same for if there's an irrational drop, right? So have your date. Then the next column, show the percentage that it moved, right? Show the percentage that it moved on a week in the next column. Show whether or not it won on the day or not. This is how you're going to be able to get your probability. This is a simple equation. This 85% came from 17 going into 20. This 80% came from 16 going into 20. There were 20 failed 2Ds on a year worth of data, and 16 times it worked out on a weekly, 17 times it worked out on a daily. All right. So if you're looking at a bull flag, if that's your strategy, right? If it's an orb, right? 15-minute orb, if that's your strategy, if whatever your strategy is, this is definitely the way to do it. Now, I would recommend doing one of these tables on the daily, right? You could do it on the 15-minute, you could do it on the hourly, but it will be a lot harder to identify that. It's going to be a little bit more tedious because you're going to have to understand the time frames of every single day to go and pinpoint that first 30 minutes of the market when you're looking at it on the chart. When you're doing the daily, which is the highest probability time frame anyway, in my opinion, the daily and the weekly, it's much easier to just go day to day because you know that each candle is a day, right? And if we're talking about, a strategy that's going to make you the most money, this is the strategy that's going to make you the most money because it's a swing strategy, right? If we close a failed 2D on sound, then I know that it's an 85% chance that I make money the very next day, right? So it's people that shoot craps, people play blackjack, and this is not gambling, but those probabilities are way lower, and they do it with no problem at all. This is an 85% chance of success. This is very high, right? I'm taking those odds on anything that I'm risking money on. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this. Now, I want y'all to understand the tedious things, the boring things are what's going to increase your intuition, your trader's intuition. It's going to increase your skill set, right? Get into this, right? Fall into this. Replace something that may be a distraction, Replace something that may be taking up your time but not giving you anything, right? We are in 2025 going into 2026. And I hate to be that cliche person to be like it's a new year, but we really got to stop playing with ourselves. We really have to start doing things that we know we're supposed to do and stopping doing the things that we know we should not be doing. Okay? I'm giving you guys something that you can go and implement right away. Now, all you got to do is actually put the work in, right? Everybody that's in the group, in the Prosperity Collective that's putting in the work, you're seeing them get the results. You may want to ask yourself, if you're not getting the results, am I putting in the work? Am I watching the videos and then implementing them? Am I learning new information and then integrating with it? Or am I okay and comfortable exactly where I am? All right, this process ain't going to be super simple and super easy all the time. It's going to be a little bit of a grind. Sometimes you're not going to feel like doing it, but you're going to see that compound over time, over the years that you've been doing the right thing, right? Every time you make a good decision, it pulls you out of this negative loop that you're in. Every time you make a bad decision, it accelerates that negative loop. And for some reason, you can't figure out how to get out of it. Make better decisions. Me and Zay, we come here every day with food for you, fuel. This is life that we're pouring into you. If you take the time to just listen to the wisdom, absorb it, implement it, integrate it, meditate on it, I promise your bank account is going to grow. Who you are as a person is going to radiate, right? And the energy is going to be felt. All right, it's not just about trading. This trading stuff is a means to an end. You're talking to a real person, even though there's a camera separating us, right? I'm just like you. Anything that you feel, I felt. Anything that you're going through, I've probably gone through, right? We're all human beings having the same experience. So I'm talking through a glass right now, but just pretend I'm right there with you, letting you know that it's your time to stop. Stop all the BS, let the distractions go, and start to really get into your bag. All right? We don't have time to play anymore. You got a group that is supporting you. The Prosperity Collective, this is a once in a lifetime thing, right? We're not going to be this size forever. We weren't the same size 6 months ago, right? This thing is going to continue evolving, and it's time to get on board. All right? That's all I got to say. I know I go off on tangents, but it's the wisdom in the tangents. And y'all know that. All right, I love y'all, man. I do this every day because I want to see you win. Okay, remember, invest smart, live free. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
All right, y'all. So I realized that I didn't mention this in the video, but the way that you want to measure that distance the next day or the next week is to simply come here in your trading view, come to the measuring tool right here, click on it. Okay, we got a fail 2D right here. So we're going to take it from the close, right? The way that I'm measuring is from close to close, right? So on this fail 2D, we got a close right here, and we're going to take it and we're going to drag it to the top to where it closed, okay? So that's about 7.4%, give or take, right? I could be a little off just based on, the speed of the mouse, but that's how you're going to do it. You're going to take the measuring tool, and then you're going to start from the close and then go up to the next close, and that's going to give you the percentage gain from from the fail 2D to the next day. You do the same thing for the week. If you're doing the week, you would just go a little bit further, 5 days out, right? So we just go a little higher, and then it could be that close right there, or let's say this close right up here. Okay, so that's how you would determine the distance of the next day movement or the next week movement off of a fail 2D.